Can you hear the baby snoring in the background? She is sleeping so good, but she wasn't. Y'all don't care about that. Anyway, I am in line, pickup line, to pick up my oldest from school, in line a little bit early, with nothing to do. Well, I have something that I could be doing, but I'm not doing it, obviously. I figured no time like the present to go ahead and record my my thoughts, my pre-publication, I guess, thoughts about the book that I'm going to be hitting publish on later. I have not hit publish on this book yet. This book will not be, there is very little chance of this book being live today, because I have not hit publish on it yet. Probably will not be hitting publish on it until much later tonight. So the book is not live yet. Anyway, this book has been over 2 years in the making. This is Eddie and Astrid's story. Eddie's story was actually supposed to be probably book 3 in the series, but because of me wimping out, or whatever you want to call it, that did not happen. But I think I think it was for the best. I think it was for the best because at the time, I don't know that I was equipped either as a writer or as person to write his story and to give it what it needed. I can't think of the word. I've been thinking of a lot of words for the last month and a half, or however long it took me it took me to write this book, and I'm exhausted. I also have bronchitis right now, so I'm doped up, but not somewhat doped up. Like not shouldn't be driving doped up, but y'all get my point. But I struggled a little bit. I'm sorry, I just got a text message that made me laugh. I struggled with this story. I struggled with letting Eddie just be, with letting Eddie just be Eddie, with not giving in to, I guess, I don't want to even say that I had the urge to make his story, some deep, convoluted thing, because his story was never that to me. But a lot of the feedback that I got when I kind of publicly maybe stated that I was that there was a chance of me writing his story, it's kind of like, well, I can't wait to see what made him the way he is, and just different little stuff like that just kind of didn't sit well. I've seen a lot of commentary surrounding Eddie that did not sit well with me. And then when I initially kind of tried to research, what not only what it's like, to be a bisexual man, because obviously I don't have any experience with either bisexuality or being a man, and so these are two identities that are completely foreign to me. But in the process of kind of trying to look into that, a lot of the things that I was finding was things kind of about Black women's attitudes toward bisexual men, and it terrified me, just to be completely honest, just to be completely transparent and call a thing a thing. It terrified me that we had some really, really nasty, ugly, offensive things to say about bisexual men, very largely rooted in ignorance. And I don't say ignorance in I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in literally the lack of knowledge type of way. lack of knowledge, a whole lot holding on to some stereotypes and different things like that. And like I said, you know, some of the commentary that I've seen around Eddie specifically, you know, just kind of had me like, you know what, nah, I'm good, you know, like I'm good. We're just gonna let Eddie, you know, remain as a side character. But that never felt right, you know, that never ever felt right. And then, you know, I wrote the other books, you know, I wrote, you know, 3 more books in that series, and I stopped there. And it's been 2 years since I published a book in that series. The last book that I published in that series was Harlan and Sydney's story, and Eddie made an appearance there. Eddie had a run-in with Astrid there because Astrid is friends with Sydney, and Sydney makes a couple of appearances in this book. But anyway, I wanted to continue the series. I've started several other books in that series. And it just wouldn't happen, right? And I feel like that was like Eddie shaking the table like, nah, you're not telling anybody else's story, you know, from this series until you tell mine. And so I just stepped back, you know, I stepped back. I wrote other things, but it was always kind of at the back of my mind. And whenever I would finish a project, and, you know, the question would come to mind, okay, what's the next project? You know, what's next? That would always be a consideration, and I would always back away from it. But finally, it was kind of like, okay, I don't really like not doing something because I'm afraid of it. I mean, I don't like not doing things that will not physically harm me because I'm afraid of them. That skydiving, that's some other stuff. But, you know, not writing this book because I'm afraid of, you know, what the reception will be, or not even necessarily that I'm afraid of what the reception will be. I'm kind of protective of my characters, and because I don't see them just as characters. You know, once they come to me, they're people to me. They're fully formed people to me. And so I didn't want to subject Eddie to some of the stuff that I was seeing on message boards, and, you know, not even just message boards, but in comments on Facebook and different things like that. I didn't want to do that to him. I didn't feel like that was fair. And I felt like, you know, I'm gonna be ready to fight and, you know, all this stuff. And it was just like, you know what? No, you know, write the story, and, you know, whoever likes it, likes it. If they don't, they don't, you know. And I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to try to ease anybody's mind about Eddie's story, because for one, it's not necessary. You know, either you're going to read it and you're going to like it, or you're not, or you don't, whatever, you know. But I felt like his story deserved to be told. I felt like his and Astrid's story deserved to be told. It's actually one of my favorite stories from the series. If I could, I'm not going to say which story I would replace if I could go back, because I love all the stories in the series. I love every story that I've written. Like, there's no story that I've written that I don't love. But yeah, Eddie and Astrid, their book is definitely one of my favorite in the series. And it's not because there's some, you know, some I really think I've really gotten the impression that people think that there's going to be like some sort of like freaky deaconess happening or something like that because of who Eddie is and because of who Astrid is. And I'm just like, well, why? Like, he's just the guy, she's just the girl. They're just falling in love. Like, at the root of it, that's really all it is. Like, it's no, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but just in the course of writing the story, there were some times that I had to check myself, you know, like I certainly don't mean to set the impression that, you know, I'm just, you know, the hashtag not problematic person or anything like that, because there were definitely points in the story that I had to check my own biases and check my own, you know, my own kind of, you know, potentially harmful beliefs, because really, you know, that's what it is. It's not just about, you know, well, this is my preference. Sometimes it's about, you know, believing things that actually not just believing, but saying and spreading things that actually do harm to real people And, you know, there were some places where I had to check myself. You know, there were things that I researched for this story, you know, that I had no idea about. There were things that, you know, there were ways that this story, you know, taught me things. And my hope is that, you know, that there's nothing that comes across preachy or anything like that, because I'm who am I? Like, I'm not, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here to do. But if your mind is open, you know, if your mind happens to be open, you know, the way that mine was, you know, wonderful. And if it's not, it's just not, I don't know. I really don't know, you know, what more to say about that. But, I really have enjoyed, you know, getting to their project. And like I said, it got put off, which really wasn't fair, you know, which really wasn't fair to the characters. But, but honestly, I didn't know Astrid yet. I didn't know Astrid until book 3. And I really feel like this is something that I often feel with my projects. Like, a lot of times the projects that I wrote before I get to a certain project were kind of paving the way for me, you know, as an author, you know, giving me the skills that I needed. Not just necessarily giving me the skills that I needed, giving me the knowledge that I needed, the patience that I needed, the right mindset that I needed, because there are certain stories that, you know, that I had to be in a certain mindset for, or, you know, life experiences that I had that I would not have been able to write this certain project if I hadn't had that life experience, different things like that. And I really feel like I needed to have evolved as a person before I wrote Eddie and Astrid's story. And I don't mean that as if I was judgmental of, you know, of people's sexuality back then. But like, that's not where I'm coming from with that at all. Where I am coming from with it is that, you know, I think that if I had written this 2 years ago, I don't think that I would have had the confidence that I have now as an author, to just write their story and let it be what it is. You know, their story just, it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. And I think that maybe before I would have felt compelled to make it into something, you know, that I never intended it to be, in order to fit people's preconceived notions. And that's not where I am now. Like, that's not remotely where I am, as an author now. And I think that I'm trying to figure out how to say this other part, but I can't. I can't figure out how to say it, and I don't want to just, you know, I don't want to give in to rambling. But again, you know, the book is not live yet. I have not even hit publish on it yet. So please don't, please don't start, you know, please don't waste your time. You know, I don't want you wasting your time or energy looking for it yet, because it is not, I have not even hit publish on it yet. I have not even finished my final, my final last, reading of it yet. So it's not published yet. But I think that it will be enjoyed. Like I said, it's one of my favorite books from the series, and it fits. I feel like it fits the series well. I feel like it fits the vibe of the series well. It is not a long book, and so don't go into it thinking that it's going to be like Ante-Up length or even The Lies length. It's more like the length of Crazy Love, and like the length of The Way Love Goes. Didn't Mean to Love You and Fall in Love Again were a little bit longer than the other 3 books in that series. But Something Like Love is kind of more in line. It's 57,000 words, you know, if that means anything to you. It's 57,000 words. So it's not going to be a long read at all. But I think you're going to enjoy it. I enjoyed writing it. I'm glad to be finished writing it. Glad to be finished writing it, because, you know, other characters have started to invade. The new characters from my Connecticut Kings, from my next installment for the Connecticut Kings, that will be coming at some point this summer. That will that will almost definitely be my next release. So I will not, today's release or tomorrow's release. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow's release will be my last release till about July or August. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. This thing says that it's 15 minutes, and I think that is plenty of time. So I'm going to go ahead and let this go. And thanks for listening or watching. Bye.